Prey is one of the best sci-fi games ever made. But what do I mean by sci-fi? Is it the aliens? Is it the futuristic upgrades you use by piercing a hole in your eyes to reach the brain? Is it the breathtaking setting of a station floating out in space? The answer is no, not a single one of these. In reality, Prey isn't about any of these things. Not entirely, anyway. It doesn't concern itself with just the spectacle of sci-fi aesthetics. Instead, it cares about you, the person playing the game. And more importantly, how it can use sci-fi and the far reaches of space to get closer at answering the questions of what makes us human, and of our propensity for kindness. This is what Prey seeks to answer. And it's not only what makes it one of the best sci-fi games ever made, it's what's missing from our own reality. We just have to wake up to see it's been missing all along.
Good morning, Morgan. Today is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Welcome to Save Room.
Prey is a story about the human condition. Sure, there's plenty of visceral shotgun blasts, molecular sublimating grenades, electro-telepathic powers, and overall tense action to cut your teeth with. But really, Prey isn't concerned with any of this at all. It's a game whose central questions constantly shift back toward ethical dilemmas and moral examinations guised under the premise of mission objectives. It's a sci-fi narrative serving as one big Rorschach test, reflected beyond the edges of the screen toward you, holding the controller. By now, I'm sure you're at least somewhat familiar with the game's premise, but in case you're not, here's the short of it. It's the near future, and you wake up in an apartment in a high-rise over San Francisco, 2032. You're Morgan Yu, an employee for TranStar brought in to take some tests. Your brother, president and CEO of TranStar, sends a helicopter to the roof to take you to the company building. You take in the sights and soak in the atmosphere of an incredible opening sequence. Testing doesn't go well.
I'm sorry, can someone please explain to me what's happening?
At least, the scientists don't seem impressed by what seems like the only logical solutions to pass each of the testing chambers. You hide behind a chair, jump over the barrier to press a button, and answer numerous questions regarding the famous trolley problem thought experiment.
Not your problem, right?
And then it's the near future, and you wake up in an apartment in a high-rise over San Francisco, 2032. You're Morgan Yu, an employee for TranStar brought in to take some tests. Your brother sends a helicopter to the roof to... Something's not right. No one's here. Your emails read danger over and over again. Someone named January calls to tell you need to break out of your apartment. That yesterday was not a dream. The twist is, none of this is real. You're already at TranStar. Your apartment is nothing but a controlled experiment down in the simulation lab. It's 2035. Your life is a lie. You too are an executive of TranStar, the director of research, and you have no memory of the last 3 years. And what's worse, an alien species has broken containment. You need to escape. Whether you've played Prey or not, I'm sure you've at least seen this moment. The smashing of the window to reveal the frame of the game as all one big company secret. It's a proper mindfuck of a moment that sets up the pitch for Prey as the sci-fi game we know it as. One that sets up an extremely compelling curiosity loop for the whole story. Where are we? And what's happening to us? But as unforgettable as this sequence is, I'd argue it's not actually the real opening of the game. At least, not for where the thesis of the game eventually goes. Instead, it's here, after almost 45 minutes of playing through a lengthy tutorial, as Morgan reaches the lobby of Talos 1. It's here where you realize the game is much bigger than you could have ever anticipated. You're not just in a TranStar building, under testing and observation. You're aboard a derelict space station orbiting Earth's moon. And you've been here for who knows how long. Immediately, there's a shift in the curiosity loop established when we first broke the glass. A moment where the game becomes about more than just yourself. No longer are we just thinking about what happened to us, but about what happened to the entirety of Talos 1, and more importantly, to its people. Everything that follows works to interrogate that notion, with the game's main and side missions constantly decentralizing Morgan, decentralizing you. Prey isn't just a game about your place in the central events that led to this catastrophe, but about your actions and how you respond, and how those actions tell us about who you are as a person as much as the impact you'll have on the eventual outcome. So, by leveraging setting, and the game's consistent emphasis on the others still aboard the Talos 1, Prey gradually turns into a game about empathy, where the questions of interpersonal relationships with our fellow neighbor become further and further forefronted the deeper you uncover the secrets of the company's history. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Prey's central concern with humanity starts in its design. And I don't just mean setting here, but how gameplay and quests are interwoven to reinforce its thesis. The kind of rhetorical framing really only an immersive sim could do. Thanks to the brilliance of the architects at Arcane, the design of Talos 1 plays a vital role in how we experience the mechanics of Prey. Whether it's quiet exploration of an abandoned lab, stealthing around mimic-infested offices, or blasting phantoms in the middle of a bar, the success of Prey as an immersive sim comes from how the megastructure is fully realized as an open sandbox play space and, more importantly, how we explore from one area to the next. It's all about physical space and interconnectivity. The result is an unrivaled experience, even by the standards of today. For a more in-depth look behind the scenes of how Arcane brought Talos 1 to life, I highly recommend watching Noclip's Making of documentary, which I'll link down below. But really, it goes further than just the setting. Everything about Prey revolves around the core philosophy of player choice, with multiple ways to progress beyond any given obstacle. Depending on the abilities you've chosen to upgrade, blocked doors can easily be hacked. Objectives can be reached with non-linear exploration from keen eyes. Or blocked doors can be circumvented altogether with the use of a single morph. There's never a single way to clear any objective. You have the choice of what to do. It is design built around the limitless catharsis of problem solving everywhere you look. And this same philosophy carries over for side missions, which we'll touch on deeper a bit later in the video. Still, it's worth noting that not only can these optional quests also be solved in any number of ways, but that completing them, or not completing them, impacts the main story with a degree of variability depending on how you choose to solve them. Without giving the lead here, it's this design where Prey's true nature begins to rear its head. Every bit of its setting, of its quests, of its enemies, of its systems, of its sci-fi world, is trying to get us to think about what makes us human. But in order to answer that, it needs to establish what kind of sci-fi world it is. Because it's not like most sci-fi stories we're used to. Let me explain. Dirty sci-fi is not an established subgenre of sci-fi. In fact, it's more like a proto-genre, meaning despite its official lack of recognition, it's still sort of widely accepted as a colloquial term that a few scholars use to tell us precisely what sort of aesthetic movements within a sci-fi setting a story will use. We'll define dirty in a second, but first, I have to tell you what it isn't. So, naturally, what we think of as the all-encompassing genre of sci-fi across several media, we can then call, for the purposes of this video, clean. Clean sci-fi is half what it sounds like. In terms of its visual portrayals, clean sci-fi is typically, let's say, easy to look at. There's an abundance of smooth objects, high-concept futuristic gadgets and settings, technological landscapes free of earthly touch, sterile environments, and a larger focus on technological advancement. One of the best modern examples of this are the most recent run of Star Trek movies from J.J. Abrams, where the design of the world, and specifically the Enterprise, is realized with exceptional minimalism, technological abundance, and overall lack of organic presence. And even though I'd say movies like Star Wars are largely what we'd call dirty, you can look to any scene on board an Empire ship to see these same clean sci-fi tropes. But clean, really, is about more than just how a sci-fi text looks. Rather, what it's concerned with. Aesthetically, clean sci-fi cares more about its concepts on a macro level. Clean sci-fi favors the spectacle, the bombastic, the technology, the action. It cares less about what it has to say about people and more about its potential to entertain. Relationships are residual to futuristic extravagance. Inversely then, dirty sci-fi is concerned on the micro level. That is, at its core, people and relationships. Naturally, dirty sci-fi settings are, then, well, dirty. Visual representations of dirty sci-fi are widely varied. Everything from depictions of population crises, overflowing landfills, apocalyptic landscapes, dystopian cities, and neo-corporatocracies. Whether it's the dunes of Arrakis, the wet streets of LA in Blade Runner, the subway restaurant on the moon in Ad Astra, or the abandoned sewers of The Last of Us, they're all dirty just the same. Whatever shape it takes, these dirty stories always use decaying settings to center on the interpersonal. It is a framework for the commingling of people and their societal structures to tell grounded and empathetic stories, making attempts to answer questions of that human condition. It's not about technology, not about action, but about the rotting residual the world tries to forget about. Us. Prey is a dirty sci-fi game. While it features some of the visual aesthetics of Dirty, the derelict station, clandestine corporate history, the literal alien that walks the halls, its main concern is with how you define humanity through your actions as Morgan. And the eventual profundity begins with Prey's side missions. One of the earliest side quests you find is down in the material extraction lab of Psychotronics. It's a short one, with a volunteer, Aaron Ingram, confined to a holding cell. Here, you're given a choice. Turn him into a mimic for further study, or free the volunteer. But it's not as cut and dry as it seems. As he pleads for his life, you can request his records at a nearby computer terminal.
What are you reading? A rap sheet, huh? Look, I'm telling you, on my mama's grave, that is a stack of lies meant to make pushing that button easier on you.
His rap sheet isn't pretty. Human trafficking, kidnapping, solicitation of a minor, distribution of controlled substances. There's no skirting around it. Aaron is scum. And honestly, maybe even deserves a fate worse than what we're offered. Still, he'll plead that you rescue him, and that if you do, he'll punch a code for a nearby security room filled with supplies.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Some human decency, friend.
No matter what you think of Aaron, a central question rears its head. Do you value compassion over cruelty, even for some of humanity's worst offenders? And more importantly, why? And if you do choose to save him, the game will literally take a beat to question your motives.
I'm sure he wasn't a good man, but you freed him anyway. I'm curious if it was compassion or was there some other motive?
Did you do it just for the supplies? Later, while locked outside Talos 1, you'll encounter Dr. Igwe, who's trapped inside a container outside a cargo bay riddled with alien cyst nests and leaking radiation. In his broadcast, Igwe tells anyone who is listening that his oxygen is low. If you want to rescue him, you only have 6 minutes to do so. The game doesn't tell you how to save him. You have to go out of your way to find which container Igwe is in. Memorize the container's number, find a functioning terminal, and input the code for docking, all while avoiding those exploding cysts. There's no benefit to doing this, by the way. There's no mission reward. In fact, you kinda have to go out of your way a little bit just to complete this tiny quest. But ignoring him obviously means he'd die. But who cares? After all, he's just pixels on a screen. He isn't real. Just a helpless NPC literally floating out in the void. Does he really matter in the grand scheme of things? So, what do? Prey is littered with these type of side quests. You encounter some helpless NPC who asks you to go out of your way to help them survive being trapped inside Talos 1. Risking your own life for very little benefit other than doing it for the sake of doing it because, well, it's just the right thing to do. Sometimes it's a revenge plot to get back at an imposter who's killing other survivors on board the ship.
If you can, make sure he doesn't get off the station.
Other times, it's fixing a broken escape pod with a trapped engineer who knew none of the escape pods worked aboard the ship and did nothing about them. Or maybe it's defending a bay from waves of phantoms and mimics that would otherwise overrun the sector. Maybe it's going out of your way to find medicine for a dying coworker you don't even remember. And then subsequently going on a scavenger hunt up and down the ship to find incriminating evidence of her father being murdered by your hands. The ones before your memory loss. Do you play her the tape or erase the evidence?
You? Performed the procedure? The what? Killed him?
There's so many more missions just like this. and it creates tension within the philosophy of player choice. What do you value? And can you place those values ahead of your main objectives? Are you willing to put the needs of others before your own? Can you go out of your way with the only motivator as kindness for kindness' sake? The Morgan you from 3 years ago wouldn't do so. But now, you have a choice. What kind of person will you choose to be? Who are you?
Did someone make you, Morgan? Were you made for something? If not, you'll have to invent your own purpose, or have none at all. Strangely, of all the things I know about you, I don't know what you believe. You have to decide, Morgan. Who are you?
And like I said before, the manner in which you choose to complete or not complete these missions has tangible ramifications for the end of the game. And if you're worried about spoilers, I'd probably stop the video right here. Go play Prey and come back after. From the beginning, Prey tells you the game can only end in destruction. With January, the AI uploaded with your consciousness from 3 years ago, relentlessly calling to remind you it is your job to blow up the station, no matter the consequences. In fact, most times after completing a side quest, he'll remind you that it doesn't matter if you choose to help an NPC if you're just gonna blow them all up anyway. But since Prey is an immersive sim, after all, it means there are other options. You can escape Talos 1 by finding keys to an executive escape pod, or you can create a massive grenade that nullifies the invading aliens. And yet, destruction is still a result of any one of these endings. Escaping Talos means you leave the rest of the people aboard the ship to fend for themselves, with the possibility of the alien threat eventually making its way to Earth anyway. Activating the null wave device means eradicating an entire species you still know little about. And of course, blowing up the entire ship means killing innocent people, as well as destroying decades of research on an alien species that could one day return. No matter which way you cut it, there really isn't any clear good or bad ending. No real right or wrong. It's all gray at the center. All it takes is one look back at any one of these side missions along the way to realize you were never operating on a dichotomy. And just as you prepare to make some kind of decision, the apex Typhon arrives. It's pretty remarkable that the game's ending doesn't involve some kind of massive, zero-gravity boss fight with the Apex. In fact, his introduction only serves one major narrative purpose, and that's to force you into making a singular tough decision: blow it all up or kill them all. If there's any real enemy here, it's tension between the Morgan of the past and the Morgan you are today. If you've saved certain NPCs, they'll take this time to call you one by one, each trying to reason with you which is the best option. But in all honesty, none of them feel like they're good options. Only which is the least bad. Still, you've got to make up your mind. The future depends on you. After all, the Apex is knocking at the front door of Talos 1. Death is imminent. He's the trolley, and you have to pick a track. So, again, what do you do? Whether you pick killing the Typhon or blowing up the station, you ultimately end with the same ending, colored in by how you played the game up to the climax. In a post-credit scene, you wake up strapped to a chair in some nondescript room. In front of you are 4 hovering operators with the names of key NPCs from aboard the Talos and your brother Alex. Over the next several minutes, Alex asks each one of the operators one by one to give their assessment of your actions while aboard Talos 1. Here, it's revealed that your entire playthrough was actually just a big simulation. You're not Morgan, simply a Typhon imbued with the memories of Morgan. And that Earth, in reality, has already been invaded long ago.
This is the world today.
Well, yeah. I can see how some people can be frustrated at the "it was all a dream" sort of rug pull. In actuality, I think it is the defining moment of what Prey has to say about humanity. Above all, we have the potential for kindness, the potential to be good. Every action we made, every side quest we completed, every way in which we choose to complete quests, we're all one psychological examination of our propensity for empathy toward our neighbor. Prey isn't just a game, but a reverse Turing test of morality. Instead of us testing a computer's ability of human mimicry, it is an examination of our capabilities to be good in the face of constant ethical dilemmas. The game literally tells you if you're a good person despite the surrounding environment of a looming disaster. Who are you, Morgan You? And what will you do?
They're lying to you.
In this instant, there is some kind of sublime intervention that bleeds beyond the edges of the screen, tested by inputs of code from the sticks and buttons of your controller from hours ago. As fun as it is to blast aliens with shotguns, as cool as it is to float around in zero gravity, and as mind-blowing as it is to uncover simulation after simulation, Prey's sole concern is not simply to entertain, but to produce some kind of understanding of the minute workings of the human condition, and to test our capabilities for making what we think are morally just decisions. It is the single thesis of what dirty sci-fi attempts to interrogate. And it does it without you even realizing that's what it was doing all along. It's a masterpiece of philosophical meditation guised as any other video game. It fucking rocks.
I'm Dr. Bellamy. Looks like we have some tests to run through today. Probably not the kind of thing you're used to, I imagine, but trust me, you're going to do fantastic.
Look, I know I'm not the first person to give Prey its flowers. Not only did the game review well, but over time, it's since garnered a legacy as a piece of what should be video game canon. But, like I said before, Prey is not just a shooter, and it's not just another sci-fi game. It is one of the few titles in recent video game history to utilize the genre to its utmost potential, to use sci-fi to say something. Something that most other big-budget sci-fi games largely have little interest in doing at all. No matter how much we think of or market Prey as the game about the aliens, about the game with psycho-telekinetic powers, about the game with a mindfuck sci-fi setting, to me, it will always be a game about what it means to be human. And in a time where kindness feels like a scarce resource, I think we're all in need of a little self-evaluation about how we can be more empathetic, even if it takes nullifying a race of alien species to do so. Let me know what you think of Prey. Do you also think it's a sci-fi masterpiece? Or were you like me from before and you still haven't played it, which you should play it. Go play Prey. Okay. I'll be waiting for you down in the comments. Until next time, my name is Christian. This is Save Room. And we'll see you in the next one.